Well, hello one and all, welcome to Seeing Through Glass. Welcome back to my challenge Stradale. Can you believe I've already done 600 miles in this car since I bought it just a couple of months ago. That includes filming the reveal video, showing it off to some family and friends, enjoying it a little bit myself, but also taking it down to AV Engineering to have it inspected and for some initial work to be carried out. All those experiences have been epic, but quite short. Today, that's going to change because in this video, I'm going to be embarking on my first long-distance road trip with the car. I'm going to be taking it into mainland Europe, across to Luxembourg, down to Paris, and then back up to the UK. It's going to be about 1,000 miles. Now, considering that this thing barely moved for about 10 years before I bought it, and despite my obsession with these things, I've never actually done a long-distance road trip in a Stradale, well, I'm quite intrigued to see how the next few days pan out. Well, good morning. It's an early start today. My alarm went off at 4 AM. You now find me kick-starting this adventure on one of the first Eurotunnel crossings of the day. It's just gone 6:20. Now, the last time you probably saw this car was when it was down at AV Engineering getting its kind of post-purchase inspection. We came up with that kind of relatively long list of work that I wanted to get carried out in the kind of short term. Well, prior to this trip, some of the kind of key mechanical work has been done. So I've actually got an invoice here from AV Engineering. Thought I'd run through it and let you know, what work has been carried out. So firstly, to renew an oil tank drain plug plate, pretty straightforward, 50 quid. Renewing of the front lower ball joints, it's always a big job that, £285. Having previously owned a 360 Modena, I'm very used to replacing ball joints. For the 360s in general, they just seem to always need to be renewed or replaced or whatever. We've got some fresh wiper blades, because when I picked up this car, the wiper blades were a disaster, and it's February, we might get some rain. Renewing the gearbox support bush and align exhaust correctly. Big ass job, 6 hours, £570. But if you remember, the exhaust was pushing right up against the rear bumper and actually corroding it slightly, so that had to be done. Removing rear arm and repairing it, and then renewing some bushes, another 237 quid. And then the biggest job of them all, removing the brake calipers, stripping out seized pistons, cleaning out corrosion, and reassembling with new Hill Engineering pistons and seals. 8 hours worth of work, £760. But, again, cast your mind back, the pads were seizing to the discs and the wheels actually weren't turning. So that had to be done before I even left the AV Engineering workshop, let alone set off on a big trip. So yeah, that was not too much fun. We've got a new outer door handle cable for this door because, well, it was just kind of sticking whenever I wanted to open it, so that's been sorted, 95 quid. And then a whole sort of suspension alignment, the geometry back to the manufacturer specifications, how AV Engineering describe it. 380 quid, that took 4 hours. That one surprised me. I was like, oh, it must have been really out of sync. Anyway, it means the total was £4,393. Quite a big bill, but I was expecting some fairly large bills with this car, given its history prior to me purchasing it. The thing is though, that's the kind of really critical work that had to be carried out. Everything else can theoretically wait, allowing me to recover from that bill and save up a little bit of money. Well, that's as long as this trip goes to plan. Important to say, I did also fit some fresh rubber to this car, but specifically winter tyres. They're the Continental, what's the name? Winter Contact? Cold Contact? They're Continental winter tyres. The car needed some fresh rubber. I wasn't entirely sure what my first adventure with this car would be, and I'm still unsure whether I'm going to be heading anywhere with snow. There is a possibility of that, not on this trip, but soon. So I thought, better play safe than sorry, fit some winters, and then when it comes to spring, I'll put some fresh P0s on, because that's what this car came from factory equipped with. So yeah, look, whilst this is my first long distance trip in this car, I am seeing it as a bit of a test, an opportunity to just kind of bed this thing in, put some more miles on the clock, and just get used to it. We will be doing all the exciting mountain driving and trips further south to Spain, Portugal, the Alps, etc. later in the year. But essentially over the next few days I had some meetings to do, 2 in Luxembourg, 1 in Paris, it's Retromobile in Paris as well. And I just thought, rather than fly, what an amazing opportunity to spend some time in this car and kind of figure it out and potentially add to our to-do list. For example, quite a lot of wind noise coming from this area, so that's something we need to work on. So yeah, it's a learning trip, I guess you could call it, but no less exciting. Look at me, I'm out here in mainland Europe in my first ever road trip in my dream car. You can't take away how special this is, even if it is a bit of a test and development drive. Well, I'm making good progress. Somewhere in Belgium, about an hour and a half still from Luxembourg. I've got to be honest, the fuel consumption of this car has kind of been baffling me. Admittedly, it's been about 9 months since I did a trip in my 360 Modena, so I'd forgotten just how huge the tanks are on these cars, like 95 litres. But yeah, I just felt like at the start of the trip, the gauge wasn't going down at all, so I actually thought it was broken. But it's kind of caught up with itself, and we've done about 200 and... Sorry, let me just concentrate here. Come on, screw on. There we go. 225 miles on half a tank, which means we're getting close to 20-ish mpg. It's probably more like 18, but it's not bad, and it means you can do about 400 miles tank one of these cars, but it is semi-expensive to fill up. That's half a tank, let's not forget. So my first real stop of the day was the awesome Deal and Drive in Luxembourg, who have just opened up an amazing new showroom. I filmed with these guys loads of times before. They always have amazing cars in stock. In the new showroom, they had a BMW XM on display, a beautiful 296 and SF90, and wait for it, my beloved Project 8. I wish I could say I went just to check out this car, but I was actually having a meeting with the team to catch up on plans for later in the year. Watch this space. Then it was time to actually head on to my next meeting in Luxembourg, which I have to be a tiny bit more secretive about. But I was in town for a good couple of hours, so it meant it was about 3 p.m. when I got back on the road to continue the adventure. Well, meeting's complete. I'm back in the Challenge Stradale, back on the road and heading to Paris. Got another 350 kilometers, 4 hours or so ahead of me, but I'm not complaining one bit because, yeah, I just am so enjoying spending time behind the wheel of this car, just figuring it out. It is turning out to be a much better GT car than I thought it would be. The 360 Modena was a great GT car, but this is 100 odd kilos lighter. It's stripped out, it's hardcore, it's track focused, but somehow just as good on a long distance trip. I've even figured out a hack for my music. You might remember the kind of reveal video. I said that the sound system in this car was pretty dreadful. I got a few messages from you saying that actually this Alpine head unit's a pretty good one. But well, despite that, the Bluetooth Connect is not really working for it and seems to be a bit all over the place. So I've come up with a kind of weird hack solution, which is an FM transmitter plugged into the 12-volt point. And anyway, I've got music, so that's good, even though these speakers are pretty tinny. It's a beautiful day today. We've had so much sunshine, which has been glorious. Aside from a bit of traffic, which we may experience more of, the car's just a delight. Oh, to say, another 4 hours and I'm very happy about it. So we'll crack on. Not sure we'll make it to Paris before sunset. Hopefully, it'd be nice to enjoy some views. We've got a whole other day there tomorrow. Fingers crossed with more of this sunshine. So yeah, onwards to Paris! Parlez-vous anglais?
Little.
Okay.
Driving card?
Oui.
Merci.
Merci.
Where are you from?
From London, from UK, yeah.
It's your car?
It's my car, yes.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's okay for me.
Okay, thank you very much. Got to be honest, I have no idea how I just got away with that. I was making a lot of noise. They must have heard me coming from a mile away. But they were super polite, super friendly, just doing routine checks on the border from Belgium into France. And so they just wanted to see some paperwork. There was a bit of a hold up because I forgot to print off my insurance document. If you're doing one of these road trips into mainland Europe, just print everything off. It makes all of these stops a lot easier. Not that they happen very regularly, but if you do get stopped by the police, if you've got your V5, your insurance, your license, all that stuff like that, it's a nice and easy job. I sat there for about 20 minutes trying to get on my emails and download the insurance policy. But anyway, all is fine, and they waved me on my way. Very nice people. I don't know if you picked up on it, but the main policeman said that he thinks I'm going to struggle to get to Paris because apparently there's been a lot of protests recently by farmers and things like that. We're literally closing off main roads. So he was like, good luck, which makes me a tad nervous, I've got to be honest. But I'm just going to keep going for as long as I can, and if I suddenly get into some kind of protest, well, I guess I'll get involved. Well, good morning from Paris. Arguably one of my least favourite cities to drive in. I just paid 51 euros to park this car overnight in actually a pretty good underground car park. Parking, I find, is one of the hardest things to do in this city. If you want to stay in a hotel that's relatively central, well, yeah, you just don't really have much choice. They do sometimes offer valet parking, but I just didn't really trust valets. Maybe that's harsh. Anyway, so I found an underground car park nearby. Whilst it was expensive, at least I knew the car was fairly safe. And so yeah, here we are. It's in the car park, kind of at rush hour. Actually no, it's a bit late, it's 9:20. I'm going to be heading off to do a bit of a coffee mission, and then making our way to Retromobile, which I've never actually been to, but I'm super excited for. I've seen some pictures of some cars that are there, and this looks absolutely wild. But yes, firstly, we have to navigate Paris streets. If you can't tell, I'm a tad nervous. Well, it's fair to say I massively underestimated Retromobile. What an insane event. It's like the Geneva Motor Show for classic cars. I could have spent 5 days here. So much to see, so many people to talk to, so many incredible cars. I'd obviously heard of it before, but I didn't realise the scale of it. Next year I'm coming back, hopefully on the press day when it's a little bit quieter. I can show you some of the insane stuff lurking around. Oh, I wish I could stay longer, but I've got to get this car home. I've got a train, a Eurotunnel to catch this evening. It's another glorious day. I do kind of wish I could hang around and explore Paris a bit more as well. Whilst I did say that I don't really like driving in this city, well, the visuals are pretty incredible. I mean, I don't know if you can see the Eiffel Tower behind me, and this morning, actually driving around the city wasn't too bad, and we went past some beautiful buildings, and I was like, oh, actually, maybe I was being a bit harsh on this city. But then I know what will happen. I'll go down a particularly cobbly street, something will fall off the car, someone will rear end me, and I'll be like, never again. So let's quit whilst we're ahead, and yes, head out of the city with the car, and hopefully get it home in one piece, so that I know that I kind of bedded it in, loosened it up, we can get planning proper adventure further south. Here we are then, back where the adventure began on the Eurotunnel, heading back to the UK. What a fascinating trip this has been. You may have just noticed on the mileometer, we actually haven't quite done 1,000 miles. 795 miles from home to this point. We'll probably do another 90 miles the other side, so a little bit less than I thought. But if you add on the mileage I'd done prior to this trip, yeah, definitely well over 1,000 miles into ownership of this car. And I do feel like this trip has, well, taught me a lot. Firstly, as I think I've already mentioned, the car is a much better GT car than I assumed it would be. I just kind of thought it was going to be rattly and tinny and a bit intense, and look, I wouldn't have minded that, but no, it's very comfortable just cruising along at the French speed limit in auto, just kick back and relax. I have to say though, there's something different about these seats compared to my Modena. I am aware that they are the slightly narrower, medium-size carbon bucket seats, where in the Modena I had large, but I do feel like they got slightly less padding as well. The seats in the Modena were so comfortable that my wife Vicky would always fall asleep in them, and I could go hours and hours and hours and hours to feel absolutely fine. These still incredibly comfortable, and I'm okay doing long distances in them, but after 2 or 3 hours I'm just aware that I'm sitting in a carbon bucket seat. I can just start to feel, I guess, the intensity of them, but I don't think it'll be a problem. However, maybe with time, if I start considering really long distance trips, I could look to replace them with the larger size, see if that makes any difference. But I think I'll be all right. Just need to get used to them being a bit different. What else can we report about? The F1 gearbox. I think it's a delight. You know, everyone knocks this car for its F1 gearbox, and actually just, you know, cars of this era, the semi-automated nature of them. But yeah, I've been absolutely fine, even in a city Paris, on the motorway, doing some more spirited driving, which we didn't do much of on this trip. I really like it. I figured it out, I really like it, I'm very happy with it. Definitely picked up on a lot of sort of creaks and rattles. I think the Parisian cobbles didn't help with some of the rattles. Some of which I can't work out is because there's basically no sound dampening in this car. It's so straight on, there's no carpets, nothing like that. So you hear everything and I'm like, okay, am I just hearing something, or am I hearing something I shouldn't be hearing? Just some things that I think, you know, I'll get Aldous and AV Engineering to look at next time the car goes back down to them. Not sure there's much else really. I mean, it's been an insanely positive experience, and I'm now just a bit like, oh, I should have been braver. I should have just launched it straight down to the Alps rather than this kind of bed. I'm almost sad that the trip is over and it was just mainly motorway miles. But it was the right way to go about things. And as I said, I have added a few points to the list. Whenever the paintwork bits get done, this car also needs a full detail. In the sunshine that we've had the last couple of days, I can see it's very spiderweb in its nature. So that's something I've put on the list. I've ordered some replacement harnesses. I learned with the 360 Modern that over time these start to loosen and they're very hard to keep tight. So I've got a new pair of harnesses which are in red. So I might experiment with them and see if they'll work out. I don't know if I've got anything else to say. Maybe it's the end of a long trip and a long drive and I'm getting tired, so I'm forgetting some stuff. But I guess we'll save that for another video. I hope you've enjoyed this kind of first trip. I know it's not been the most exciting. Oh no, this is what I'll say. That's what I wanted to mention. This car definitely, weirdly, doesn't feel as urgent as my Modena, and I know why. Do not forget that we applied, like, well, 360 Challenge ECU essentially to my Modena. It was done by this guy called 360 Trev, who does amazing ECU flash updates for these cars based on the factory OEM software. So essentially just ripping the software from like a Challenge like that and applying it to these. I do know it does transform the CS, but yeah, it was on my Modena, and that car, we were redlining at like 9,250 RPM. It was just all turned up to 12. And so I've just noticed a couple of times, like pulling away from toll booths or when we did that slightly better driving, it's just not as frantic from the throttle response isn't as it was in my Modena, and that is literally just an ECU flash from Trev, and I think it's probably been improved since I did that. I must have done it to my car 5 or 6 years ago, so I'm sure he's got different iterations, and this is Stradale, so I definitely know now I want to do that now that I've kind of figured things out. So I'll definitely do that flash update just to kind of get the responsiveness back. But yeah, I'm so in love. I'm so happy. Throughout, I've just been smiling so much. I just absolutely loved this. And as I say, I'm gutted it's over. So give it a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the first adventure. Stay tuned, stay subscribed, because yeah, it won't be long till I'm back out on the road again in this beast.